Ladies and gentlemen, from the Microsoft Theater here in downtown Los Angeles.
Hey, yo, I see you, man.
Brought to you by Shawn Porter Promotions.
Hey, yo, Shawn.
Now I want to just give me one of these when y'all wanted to cut. Just give me one of these.
No, we don't need to, I don't want to disrespect Ace Boogie, so I mean.
We'll do this.
Yeah, shout out the executioner.
Yeah, that's Des Bryant.
No, that's B Hop before it was him.
Oh man, disrespect.
I was not happy that B Hop switched to the Alien late in his career. By the way,
me neither.
It's just one of those like we know you was something
like what he was trying to.
I get it.
Yeah,
but like we know you as something. It's an awesome nickname, and then like
and
you can't just switch it up.
And don't get it.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I'm thinking about that time he was in Trinidad tripping with the when he was fighting. What was that? Tito Felix Trinidad?
Yeah.
He was in Puerto Rico tripping.
Uh-huh.
The whole arena almost killed him. You remember him running out? He he threw the flag down, stepped on it.
Oh no!
He's Puerto Rico. He's from Puerto Rico, right? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Trinidad is.
Yeah, that was wild. And in Puerto Rico, he almost got killed.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's all bad.
Speaking of Puerto Rico, we gonna get to Danny Garcia and Errol Spence Jr.
For sure.
Everybody, welcome to the Porterweight Podcast. I am your official host, Showtime Shawn Porter. We got Anthony Bernal, aka Ant, aka Domino.
Don't do that.
Big
Don't
black man. And we got C Merck up there up top. Well, on my screen, he up top. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but
right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, that's right.
What's happening? Fellas, how we doing?
I watched so much boxing this weekend, man.
You watched more boxing than me this weekend. I was like,
I watched more boxing than I think I have in the 29 years of my life prior to this.
It was more boxing going on than I even knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot about. We spent a lot of money, Carson. I feel like we need a refund, man. Me and Carson having talks like, man, should I buy it? Should I buy it? We gotta buy it.
Yeah.
Hey, the funny part is I think that's how everybody is, or at least how everybody used to be, especially when you were going somewhere to watch it. Where we watching that? And then you always got that last message where everybody just broke down. Man, I got it. It's all good.
Well, we usually in normal circumstances, we could all link up and all kick in. It's not an issue. Like I don't hesitate to kick in $5-10, but hey, clicking that full price, it hurt me so.
Hey, I was sitting there making this. I didn't even get the Tyson fight when it started. I still was sitting there debating. Is it worth this $50? Oh man, $50.
It was though.
I was gonna say, the funny part is anybody that tuned in late or whatever, like you didn't know everything that was gonna happen, like everything that jumped off. It was worth.
It was an event.
Man. It was worth the 50, but nobody knew that. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things. Like a lot of people back in the day, speaking on buying fights, a lot of people back in the day, as told to me, I wasn't there, but said I didn't want to buy a Mike Tyson fight because I knew it wasn't going to be worth the money. But I could not miss it, so I always had to buy it. And that's how last night was. It was like you couldn't miss everything that went on, and nobody knew everything that was going to jump off until it was happening. I mean, I didn't.
Yeah, a lot of music, a lot of fights.
Yeah. Hey, but let's go back just a little bit. I do want to recap the whole weekend and all that kind of stuff. It was a long weekend, especially if you started on Friday with DJ, Daniel Jacobs, and Rosado, Gabriel Rosado. What a night that was not.
typically say, well, it's gonna be like, oh man, that was crazy.
Yeah,
that one, not at all.
That one, I was so salty from basically from beginning to end. So salty.
That was a snooze fest, man. I thought somebody turn it up. Turn it up. It's like everybody was trying to counter each other. Like, do something, man. Yeah. Turn up the heat.
I had blessed enough to have Tommy Hearns, the legend Thomas Hearns, right here in the podcast, and we shot a little bit. But prior to that, he wanted to come over and watch the fights, and I said, well, why don't you come a little later after the fights, because everything that's going on, and I just want wifey to be comfortable, everything like that. By like maybe the 5th round, I text him. I said, "Hey, you guys can come on over." He comes in the door, and I was like kind of heated and mad. He not that far away, which was cool. Come in the door, and he smiled at me. I said, "Hey man, was you watching the fight?" And he went. I said, "I take it you were watching the fight." He said, "That was not a fight, gentlemen, sir. That was not a fight." So he come in the room, and we're waiting on the announcement of the fight. And damn, if they didn't say, damn, the worst thing that could have happened that made the night even worse was from Philadelphia, Brooklyn.
Man, that
Daniel
was
Jacobs.
crazy.
I was like, wow, because prior to the announcement, we really didn't know who won the fight. I mean, I told my dad, says, he looked at me and says, "Do you think Danny is winning this fight?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "Here's the thing. We as judges, and even us being here, we had in our minds that Daniel Jacobs was going to control the fight and win the fight. So probably even the first 2 or 3 rounds, you're giving to Daniel just because of your expectation of what was going to happen that night. So the worst thing that could have happened to Gabe is you don't win a lot of fights. And so nobody's expecting you to win. And then what worked to Danny's advantage, at least in my mind, is you come to the ring as the winner. So the judges were expecting you to win the fight, but very little activity from both fighters, but especially from the fighter we expected to win. But I think because of that expectation, it was like he started the fight with a head start. Yeah, with the head start. And then
you said very little activity was a very kind way of putting that.
Yeah, I mean,
no activity.
No activity.
I didn't even know how to judge that.
Yeah.
What did Common say? No motion, slow motion is better than no motion.
Yeah.
Barely though.
Yeah, barely any motion.
Hey, Carson, I tried to think into the eye of Shawn with the judges' mindset. I ain't have nothing. I'm like, I don't know who wins this.
He said, "I can't see this like me or Shawn or any of the judges." I couldn't either.
At the end of that, I could have seen DJ winning. I could have seen Rosado winning, and I could have seen draw.
And I could have saw a draw. Yeah. The one thing I'm going to do from now on, though, when I watch the big fights, is I'm going to have some paper right there, and I'm going to write down who I think is winning the fight.
Yeah.
Because when you get to the end, it's like it was so dry and it was so uneventful that once you got to the end, it was almost like, I don't care who wins.
Yeah, just let it end.
But then when you get to decisions, like you try to justify the decision. But that one, man, I can't justify Daniel Jacobs. I can't justify the way he fought. I don't consider COVID and this quarantine an excuse. At this point, it can't be an excuse. All of us, especially a guy like him who's got more than enough at his disposal, you're supposed to be ready for a fight at any point in time. And the COVID and the quarantine is not supposed to affect you the way that, I guess, if anything, you would say it had an effect on DJ. And I even at this point, man, I feel like 5 minutes is enough.
I would agree. Yeah. It was bad. I even want to give a shout out to Rosado. I thought DJ would get him out of there.
Yeah.
But I thought Rosado fought a very good fight for him, being the underdog.
He fought a very good fight. I think so Tommy came over with his nephew. His nephew's the one who drove him over here, and the three of us were talking, and what Tommy says is, when you're a warrior, you're supposed to always be a warrior, and he did not show that warrior spirit that we're used to seeing from him, and I agree with that. And then so his nephew says, well, he got with Freddie Roach, and Freddie was supposed to show him, a better way of give him more control and show him how to be a better technician in the ring. And I think that even though he was under control, he didn't get wild, he didn't get crazy or anything like that. It's like you lost your warrior, you lost your dog in trying to be a better boxer, especially at the end, where in a lot of ways it doesn't matter. At the end, you supposed to just entertain people and get paid, and it's
give us what we want.
Yeah, and it's like you didn't give us what we wanted at all.
Yeah,
all bad.
I was not impressed at all. I just thought those two styles would just bump heads and mash, and it give us a great night of boxing.
Well, we got to close the door, but before we close the door, we do have to say, at this point, does Daniel Jacobs deserve to be in the ring with Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, a rematch with Canelo, a rematch with Triple G, even the fight that we were talking about with Jamal Charlo?
Yeah, I think so. Just because for me, we've seen him better than that in bigger fights. Mm-hmm. So if anything, maybe it was just he maybe played down to his level a little bit, like you see in other sports. Mm-hmm. I would almost consider it. We talked about you versus Ugas last week, but like people weren't blown away by your performance against Ugas. Mm-hmm. I don't think afterwards somebody was like, I don't want to see him against Errol Spence. Right. I just think it was kind of a different look than maybe we're normally seeing, but I'd still like to see it, and I still think he has a shot in those fights. Right.
And what about you, Ann? You think he got a shot in those fights?
Yeah, we know what we're going to see. I mean, I hate to make excuses. I mean, COVID, it's a lot going on right now. Yeah. But we know when it's time for him to fight, he shows up in big fights. Obviously, we felt like he should have did something different between Canelo, but we know when it's time for big fights, he's going to show up. It won't be a blowout.
Y'all checked out the heavyweight fight, right? Both of them.
Good fight.
Yeah. I watched the highlights.
I was happy about it. I was happy that I checked that one out.
Hey, I'm gonna do my disclaimer for this, and then I'm gonna let y'all go ahead. But I have a hard time watching the heavyweight division. I have a hard time outside of Deontay Wilder, outside of Tyson Fury, outside of the other two big names, Luis Ortiz and AJ, Anthony Joshua. I think there's a humongous gap between those guys and the other guys coming up, like Joe Joyce, and even though Dubois, how do you say his name? Dubois. Even though Dubois lost the fight, I those guys, just think it's a humongous gap between those guys, and so it's hard for me to give the division a chance most times, especially coming from where I come from, the classic fights that I've seen at heavyweight, and just seeing again a humongous gap even between the big names and the greats that we've had over the years. And so when y'all said y'all was watching, I was like, all right, I'm gonna just let them report this fight.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting matchup. Obviously, Joyce is comfortably the older guy there, but Dubois, and Ant can correct me if I'm wrong, Dubois was definitely landing the bigger shots. But I don't think that dude moved his head out of the way of one jab the entire night.
Yeah, it was. And Shawn, he wasn't even hitting with a 1-2. He was hitting with a 1 all night.
Yeah.
That's what I saw in the text.
1-1. Yeah. 1-2. 1-1 all night.
Yeah.
I just swelled up.
And I'm like, dude, it's not like Joyce was giving him like crazy angles or he was throwing great combinations. He was throwing the same shot over and over and over, and it's shutting your eye. And there's no head movement. There's no getting off the line.
Let me jump in. How do you feel, and maybe it got better, but how do you feel about Joe Joyce's jab?
Solid jab.
It was 150% accuracy.
Did it get better? I watched the first round. I'm sorry, but this is me. He reaches with his jab. He's up on his toes with his jab, and his jab is more of a touching paw. Now, that was only the first round that I watched.
Hold on, Shawn. I thought it was touching too?
Yeah.
Till I started seeing that eye.
And so it got better as the fight continued. Because after
it was just...
It just was one of those touching jabs like that.
Yep, it's harder than it looks.
Yeah,
I think it was just consistency, just over and over and over and over. But yeah, it ends up, and I thought Dubois was up for me in the fight because, like I said, there were a couple times where he was getting some big shots off and was kind of the tide seemed to be turning towards him, and then that jab, he just kept getting hit with it, and then ends up, I think it was the 10th round, he takes a knee and was donezo.
And Joe don't got great power. He reminds his power reminds me of your power at welterweight. Not the greatest, but it's gonna do the job. Look at Earl's face after the fight, and it was just like, it wasn't. If he had some power behind it, I think he gets that guy out there way sooner.
Wow!
But it was just consistent, man. Consistent. It was like in the same spot. I never seen nobody land the same spot over and over and over.
Target,
with a 1, not a 1-2, a 1.
Just a jab.
And I don't understand that in his corner. I just don't understand how you're not saying, "Hey, get your hand up there specifically." If anything, it's going to maybe mess with your offense, and it's going to be a little wonky on defense, and you might open your body up a little bit more. But dude, just have that glove right there and just block that one shot. But yeah, that was I actually like. I don't know about you, Ant, but I actually loved the venue. I thought the venue was nice. It's like
that was a clean setup.
Yeah, it was a little. I think it was a ballroom of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a crisp little setup there. But I thought
a castle type deal in the background. It was cool.
Were they
people on the top?
Were they in London?
Yeah, it was right next to. They kept saying it's right across from one of the landmarks there. I don't know. I can't think of which one. I want.
Hey Carson, I thought you were about to say it was right across the street from 7-Eleven. There's a 7-Eleven out there. I was about to say, you been to London?
Yeah, just right around the corner over there. Yeah, that. But no, Joyce said he wants Usyk. I love that fight.
Really?
I do, because I think we were talking about we want to see Usyk continue to be tested by somebody at heavyweight, and for me, Joyce, if anything, he's gonna be there. He mentioned afterwards Dubois was hitting some big shots, and he was like, I was never really hurt by those shots. I've been in there with big punchers, so I would like that. I think they fought in a tournament at some point.
It's funny because let's talk about that fight. You got Joyce and Usyk. If the fight were to happen, you got one guy in Usyk who's smaller, adapting to the weight class, a lot quicker, a lot faster, a lot sharper, better boxing skills. And then you have Joyce, who has, I would imagine, more power. And from what I'm hearing, a decent jab that I didn't see. Just in again, one round. But then you have a guy who is determined and has will and heart. And I think when it comes to this boxing game, we're going to get to Nate Robinson. But I'm going to make a point right now before we get to Nate Robinson. There's some things in the boxing ring that you cannot gauge, that you cannot measure. And one of those things is will and determination and the ability to weather storms and have fight and heart and grit. And in a fight like that, where a guy who could be outclassed and beat to the punch and skillfully outmatched, but have will and determination and just be willing to stand there and try to hit you with that jab and try to hit you with that jab and eventually maybe even let that right hand go, assuming that you take a look at the fight that you had with Dubois and you're willing to grow and learn from that experience that you had with Dubois. Now you're saying, hey, I've thrown 15 jabs. Now let me start adding the right hand to my arsenal. You might actually have a really good fight there.
Yeah, if anything, if you look back at Usyk's fight against Chisora, and Chisora was just throwing these huge shots and Usyk's just tactically kind of breaking them down. I think if anything, Joyce is able to, I think his footwork might be a little bit better in the sense of maybe setting up his shots. I think he's a taller guy than Chisora is too. So with that, I think it would be a good fight. And especially like I said, they fought in a tournament before and he lost to Usyk. So I think a little bit of get back. I'm always down for that.
One big thing that my dad is he presses upon me, the basics. I mean, my dad is basics all day and all night. But another thing that he teaches that I don't know if a lot of other coaches don't teach or if the fighters don't pick it up or what, but it's being able to step with your punches. It's just this type of coordination that comes with boxing. And again, we'll get to Nate Robinson because he was missing a whole lot. But I did see that as Joyce. He tries to step with his jab and he tries to get close to the fighter before throwing his punch. There were points just in one round where he was reaching with the jab, but for the most part, he was trying to step with his jab, which is just basic and fundamental. And you're talking about a guy who, in Usyk, who can get out of the way of the long, wild shots, the wide shots. Those are the shots you see. The more straighter shots are not that you don't see them, but they're a little harder to make somebody miss if your timing isn't on point and your range and distance isn't on point. So, again, there's another point in saying that Joyce may possibly be able to contend with somebody who is, in my opinion, our skill has more skill, has more speed, quickness, and the whole nine.
Joyce is a Olympian.
Yep.
So you can see it, why he had so much success at the Olympics. It just the silver medal, and I don't think that the Dubois, did he ever go to Olympics? Because I don't see it in his game.
I don't know about Dubois. I do know that Joyce was a silver medalist in 2016.
Yeah, it was an entertaining fight though, especially coming off that fight on Friday.
Right, you needed.
It felt like But like Corrales and what's after that?
Hey, so then we had a big night last night.
Yeah, man.
Hey, listen. Now, all right, so let me say this, because 2 months ago, I was all hyped. I was ready for Roy Jones and Mike Tyson. I don't know what. I was out of my mind at that point. At least I thought. I was out of my mind at that point in time. And I felt like it was going to be exciting. I thought it was going to be something to watch. I was hyped. Just to say the least, I was hyped. And then I don't know if it was the weight or what, but last week I was like, yeah, I don't really want to talk about it. Let's just talk about it after the fight. I just was kind of turned off about it. But then last night happens, and at the end of the night, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, damn, we got some stuff to really talk about tomorrow. This was a good night of boxing. I just thought that the event is what we're going to call it. I'm sure it's what they're calling it too.
Yeah.
The event was smooth, top to bottom.
Yeah, that was an event. That was an eventful night. I was debating buying it, but I gotta say, I was happy. I got my money's worth. I got concert. I got my uncle fighting my daddy. I got my cousin fighting my cousin. I got the big buff quarterback off the team fighting a high school basketball player. I got a little bit of everything.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
A club bouncer. I got all type of stuff last night.
Who was the quarterback?
Who
was the quarterbacks?
Jake Paul and Nate.
And Nate Robinson.
It was a lot, man.
Hey,
we starting with Nate?
Hey, Badou look good. Badou look good. He's throwing good body shots.
Let me be honest though. Shout out to Badou, but you got to get that guy out of it. You have to.
Ain't a club bouncer, man.
Yeah, there's just Badou, like, he was great. He was the Badou we know, but you've been a world champion, and this guy was by no means on your level. And Badou's hitting him with some clean shots, and that guy was just like, like it just. I was entertained because Badou is a very skillful fighter, but I was very disappointed that he did not get a start.
I enjoyed watching Badou boxing skills, and gotta give a dude credit. Military,
sure.
Ex-military, definitely tough. Formella bloodline can take an ass whooping. I was impressed.
Formella bloodline.
Hey, my man was in there to take one.
I don't know what was in his mind that night, because he was taking body shots. He didn't take any like humongous big, headshots, nothing like that. Yeah. But he took some body shots where a couple times I saw him kind of crunch down, and I was like, okay, this is about it. But he was able to stand in there. I mean, if you ask me how he was able to stand in there, I really don't know. I mean, the thing I can say about Badou is this is probably one of the faster paced fights he's had in a long time. I mean, he started out fast and finished strong, and he normally is a slow starter, probably throwing 20 to 30 punches around, maybe. And I think
it was only 8 rounds, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was only 8 rounds, and I thought he had a faster pace. And he was direct with his body shots. I mean, the body shots, there were a couple times where I was impressed he doubled down to the body, because that first one, the guy blocks, and then you're expecting the guy to come the other way, and you're able to touch the ribs on the next one. I mean, he did a good job. I mean, if you're asking me, what did he do? What didn't he do to not stop this guy? I mean, I just feel like you got to give it all to the guy, understanding that, I think the dude just knew that it was a big platform. He was going to be outmatched, and his whole thing was just to hang on for 8 rounds, So
yeah, I thought Badou could have really pushed the action though. I think when you get to like 6, 7, and 8, I know he was still dictating the offense.
Yeah, he's
still landing body shots. He's still landing jabs and still landing shots, but. Yeah. At that point, like I said, you're a former world champion. Like, get that dude out of there. Like you said, the guy was there to hold on. So if you're Badou, it wasn't like, if I throw, 5 big shots, he's going to all of a sudden just clean me out, which, it's boxing. It can happen. Yeah. But I just thought Badou had the ability, because we know how talented he is, to put his foot on the gas pedal and get him out of there, but he didn't. But
I can't disagree with that.
That 8th round, I actually thought he was putting the foot on the gas. I thought he was going to end up getting him out of there. But that guy just survived.
I think at that point too, it's too late. If I agree with Carson. If it's the 6th and the 7th round and you're fighting like you did in the 8th round, you should have enough in the tank to be able to do that for 2 or 3 rounds, whatever it takes to really get that guy out of there. You going into the 6th round, you're recognizing that I'm able to hit this guy clean to the body and hurt him. Let me just stay there and continue to rip. And my tweet, the Ripper's back, because I haven't seen Badou really dig into somebody's body like that in a long time. So I was impressed with his offensive attack and also his punch selection, but. I do agree with Carson. At that point, you do have to kind of step your foot on the gas pedal a little more, beginning in that 6th round and 7th, and then finishing the fight like you did in the 8th round. I agree with that.
And after that fight, I sat there and I was like, I have no clue what the hell we're going to see next. With that Jake Paul, Nate Robbins fight, I had zero idea what was going to happen.
It was crazy how so many non-boxing fans like ourselves that really wanted to see that fight. It was, I guess, the new age we live in, man, but people was really hyped about this fight. I knew he didn't stand a chance, but I didn't expect him to get whooped like that.
Yeah, that was all bad. The music was good last night too. Just to give a quick shout to that, Wiz. And then we went into a YouTuber against a former 3-time slam dunk champion, which 2020 is 2020. I feel like that's a headline that makes sense for 2020.
Right.
But that was all bad.
He went, as Carson would say, sleepy deepy. Is that what you would say, Carson?
Yeah, he was a little sleepy deepy.
Hey, I didn't. Did he train for this?
Yeah, he trained.
That looked like me getting in the ring. That literally looked like me getting in the ring.
Yeah, he trained boxing.
It was
like, you seen him? Or you heard?
I saw videos.
He what?
I saw videos of him training.
Did he look like that?
No.
Well, because I guess that's like everybody has a plan so they get punched in the face, but he hadn't even been punched yet. His plan was literally just like, and just charged at him.
So I think everybody's kind of taken that quote from Mike Tyson and kind of ran with it. I agree with it. It is very true, but let's even go from everybody has a plan until they get in the ring.
Yeah.
Everybody has a plan until they show up at the venue. Because that's really where the stuff is not real until everybody has a plan until you leave the hotel. Because that's when
Shawn,
stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Not to cut you off. That will literally be how 99% of people that don't box will look.
100%. That's exactly.
That's what people talking. I'm like,
that's exactly
how I will look. Shut up, Shawn.
You did just say that's exactly how I would look, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was funny is a lot of people said when people criticize you, Shawn, they said that is what people that are critical of you see. That just like charging in and not having like a plan and just like jumping at them. They were like, Nate Robinson is what critics want you to think Shawn Porter is. Like that's what they want you to think Shawn actually looks like.
That's interesting.
If anything, if you're Nate Robinson, like run around. Like if you can't get any offense going, at least move defensively. He literally just like they would hold and they would break. And he was like, wow, and just jump at him again. I was like, what? Change the strategy, do something.
So us professional fighters, my whole thing, ever since I turned pro, I've always been, it's always bothered me that anybody could go out and get a professional boxing license at any time. You guys, y'all don't need any type of qualification at all. As long as y'all can fill out y'all paperwork, y'all can be considered professional athletes tomorrow. And it's always been a pet peeve of mine because I was always like, man, I can't do that. I can't just go to the NFL. I can't just pick up a ball and go to the NBA. Why don't these guys have to qualify to be real fighters? And so for a long time, I always said, well, nobody won't. If you don't make it to my level, then it doesn't matter. if you just went and got a license and turned pro. It doesn't matter because you'll never be at my level. But then here you have it, a guy who was at the level in his sport, he thinks that he can just come into the boxing ring and it's going to translate everything that he's been doing on the floor, going through the motions, and then you get in the ring and it's like you can't prepare your heart and your mind for everything that you prepared your physical body to do. And that's exactly what happened when he got in the ring. And I knew it. I told Tiki, I was like, yeah, he's about to get knocked out. And she's like, no, he's not. I was like, he's gonna be fine, but he's gonna get knocked out. and of course he gets knocked out. And I looked at it, I said, listen, he's fine. He's laying there like that. The same reason that, and I told her the same reason that the Rosario laid there after the punch that he took from Jermell Charlo. When guys haven't been through that kind of stuff, it's almost like you just go out of your mind and you don't know how to handle what's going on. He's trained. He knows how to step with his punches. He knows combinations and the jab and the basics and things like that. But having never been in that type of environment and having not been able to take his mind and his heart to that kind of level, anxiety took over. And then a white boy with a little bit of skills was able to touch him, and it was a wrap, man. I was embarrassed for him.
He turned into street fighting mode. This is not a street fight.
Way quicker than I thought he was. He went street mode ASAP.
They found, and the worst part was they found 2 old tweets of Nate Robinson, and they kept retweeting them. One of them was, he said time for a nap or something like that in like 2011. They were like, oh, that was ahead of his time. And the other one, which is more boxing related, I think it was 2010 maybe, he tweeted something like, oh, give me a couple years, I'll be in there. I could be in there with Floyd and Pacquiao or something like that. Just like, I'm sure he was watching a fight and was just talking shit. But I was like, dude, there was not even the moments early where they like were feeling each other out, where he was like, throwing a jab out there, kind of just moving. He was just immediately, they were like, ding, and he was just like charge and just like grabbing him, headlocking him, and that was bad.
Guys, I'm telling y'all, it won't be the last time. Guys who don't have experience in boxing are gonna do one of two things. They're either gonna be uncomfortable and run with it, which is what he did, or be uncomfortable and try to get comfortable. And it's a really touchy moment right there, because the guys who are uncomfortable trying to get comfortable, it's like they trying to move out of the way of everything. And then, or you got the opposite where a guy is just going to go out there and say, and basically you're uncomfortable and the only thing you could think of is knock him out, and then you're going to get touched up in the process.
Yeah.
And
end up taking a nap.
And how do you feel about what you gonna say? Go ahead. Say.
Is that how you would look?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I'm not even gonna lie. When I seen him get knocked, I said, "That's me. That is me all day." And y'all know it's me.
To Martin.
You know me. I feel like I can whoop anybody. I went up there and got knocked just the same exact way. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, me as well. Me 100%.
I got a feeling that Carson, yeah, I almost called you Drew and there. I got a feeling that Carson will actually I got a feeling you be like in control, like you be all right.
I would be ultra conservative defensively. I would just be running away as much as I could. I
feel like you that get off me guy.
Yeah. I would throw like a couple of jabs out there just to loosen the shoulder up, and I'd be running.
Yeah. I would start off giving him a couple Malik Scotts, but then I would have got slept.
Hey, that's your guy. I'm gonna introduce you to him.
I don't want no problems.
I'm jabbing and holding.
What was you gonna ask me?
Oh, what I was gonna how do you even feel about this? Like a YouTuber coming into the boxing game, making big money, man. This guy's making big money.
They asked me the same thing when Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather. And it's like, it's one of those things that you just can't control. Whatever people that are moving money and are making those type of business moves happen, they're going to do whatever they want to do, regardless of how anybody feels about it. If it can't be stopped, it's going to happen. You got a guy in Jake Paul who's got, I don't know, like 30,000 followers or whatever. 30 million followers or something crazy like that. And me on the other side of it, like I don't give a damn about one follower, and now he's got 30 million or whatever it is that follow him religiously. Nobody can deny that. They know that people are going to tune in, people are going to pay for it, and it's a way to make money. And so I don't fight against it. You know, if it's a situation where you're saying, hey, who you want to put on your undercard? Can Jake Paul fight on your undercard? I'm going to say no, he can't fight on my undercard. I don't care that X amount of people are going to watch me. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that the people who love what I do and appreciate what I do are going to see other people who are trying to follow in my footsteps or trying to do what I do, get to my level. Those are the people that I want seen. And so that's really just the only way I would control it. But other than that, it is.
Let me ask you this, SP, from my perspective. I don't see. I know some boxers were tweeting yesterday, and it's been kind of a thing, even with McGregor, that they see it as a disservice or a disrespect to boxing. I don't see it that way because I don't look at that fight yesterday as like I don't look at that as boxing. So yeah. I don't think those guys getting in the ring is like disrespecting boxing. I think if anything, it enhances boxing because then you're like, okay, like Nate Robinson is an elite world level athlete, and the fact that he got in there and looked absolutely horrendous, that shows, I think, the levels of boxing. So if anything, I think it elevates, oh man, if I think, he's a great athlete, he gets in there and does that, what about a guy that I think we normally would say is a trash fighter or a bum? That's miles and miles away from what Nate Robinson was.
Right. Yeah, I think it's both sides really do show up. You have the side where I don't really feel disrespected. I don't really feel that the sport is disrespected. However, there's much better ways to represent the sport. And that is a way of, I think, if anything, it's exploiting what the sport truly is. But on the other side of it, you have an opportunity to say, hey, these guys are world champions, and that's why you're not. These guys are world champions, and we can see the difference in what they do and what they've accomplished and how they accomplish it, opposed to you feeling that you can just get in the ring and do it. I mean, even Jake Paul, I think he's a long ways away from beating anybody, even coming right out of the Olympic program, turning professional, let alone anybody that's already up there at that level.
It kind of reminds me of two things. One was pros versus Joes, because then you saw like a normal guy against an athlete, and also Katie Nolan from ESPN after, I think it was the Bears kicker missed a kick in the playoffs. Yeah. And she found guys on Twitter that were like, oh man, I could make a 20 blah, 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 whatever field goal, and had them try to kick, and it's just horrendous. Wow. Yeah. So I think that's kind of what that does for people that are at home. Like, and you can be critical of boxing, but to act like oh man, he took a knee, I could have done that. You couldn't have been in there for that long.
And you know what? I had a lot of people texting me saying, "Hey, are you gonna watch this garbage? Are you gonna watch this trash? Are you gonna watch this spectacle?" Like, I literally had people text me that, and I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna watch it." And then they said, "Oh, I'm surprised to hear you say that." I said, "Don't be surprised." He said, "Well, are you looking forward to it?" I'm like, "I am, and I'm not." Man, I understand in the main event. What was gonna happen. And that was we were going to get two legendary fighters get in the ring and basically just more than survive, but just showed it what they still got. And we got that in the main event. But along the way, the rest of what we paid for was an event. And we got even more than that because we got like this event/concert. I mean, Snoop was everywhere last night.
Hey, Snoop killed it.
Yeah, Snoop was hilarious. Snoop was doing his thing. And then got the nerve to commentate and be fun doing it.
I think he hit a good lord when Nate Robinson went down. Speaking of the commentary, though, shout out to Israel. I think it's Adesanya. Who I'm not a UFC guy, so I'm not familiar. Yeah. I think they said that was his first time commentating fights.
It was. He's a killer, though.
He was great. I've heard about him as a fighter, but I actually thought he was above average as far as the broadcast yesterday.
Okay. Hey, Shawn, watch out, man. They coming for your job.
I thought he did really well. I thought I just thought the whole night was pretty solid. And then even in the main event where you guys were telling me some weeks or months ago that I was a fool for thinking it was going to be fun to watch and all that kind of stuff. And here we have it, man. We got. What did y'all think about the main event? Let's talk Mike and Roy.
Hey, first off, disclaimer. We watched it all separate. None of us was together.
That's true.
So just want to let everybody know. I did have somebody show up at my house. But, that's different. But that was the event. Mike and Roy went better than I thought. Way better than I thought. I didn't expect much from it, honestly. So I was entertained. My buddy that came over was not. He wanted Mike Tyson from 1997. He wanted him to knock him out. He wanted Roy Jones to be in and out moving like Roy thought he was doing that for a second.
He did.
Roy, what you doing?
Yeah.
What you doing, Roy? But he wanted all that. I said, man, they don't got that no more, man. He was totally upset. I was entertained, man. That was entertainment to me.
Yeah.
Just two old guys out there wrestling over the barbecue grill. You ain't got nothing on the grill like I do. Like, they just two uncles, man. Two drunk uncles.
That's how I start, right? Hold on, put my meat on first.
No, I got the hot links today.
Yeah.
I thought Roy was worse than I expected, and Tyson was better than I expected.
Really?
Great. That was great, Sean. That was true. Because
I thought because Tyson you could see he took it seriously. He was moving. He was throwing shots.
He was in shape.
Even throwing combos. And Roy was like, he was rigid and he'd throw a jab and then kind of try to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And he was gassed after a round.
Yeah.
Tyson looked like he could go 15 rounds.
Yeah.
After the first round, they asked Roy, it said, I know you can see everything throwing, right? He's like, yeah, kinda. Hey, he wasn't keeping it. He was keeping it real. Nigga, I'm tired out here.
He said that? I didn't hear that.
I was impressed by Tyson. I think Tyson took it seriously, and I was entertained by Tyson. And Roy, I think if Roy had taken it as seriously as Tyson, I think it actually would have been even more enjoyable because then Roy could have been throwing those shots and working on the outside a little bit. And then, but it ended up kind of being at times one of those bad heavyweight fights where it's just a lot of holding, a lot of just kind of wrestling with each other. But Mike Tyson, there were a couple of times where I was like, oh, you got some shots off there.
I didn't even consider what either you just said until you just said it, but I have to agree with y'all. I think that if Rory had taken it more serious, that we would have had a much better fight, even cosmetically, just from the standpoint of those guys. If Roy's determination and preparation matched Mike Tyson, his body would have looked better, and both guys would have looked a lot better in the ring. And so I think that's the first X on it. But if we go back just a little bit to the pre-fight interviews, I thought both guys said some things that made a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. The one thing that Roy said to me that I really appreciated, he said, "Listen, if Dominique and Mike were about to get on the court, y'all would go see them." He said, "So why wouldn't y'all go see us?" And I said, "Man, that makes a lot of sense. These guys are icons in the sport. They're legends in the sport and athletic legends too. I mean, let's be real. In their times, both guys weren't only known for being hellacious, unbelievable boxers. I mean, especially Roy was known for doing everything before and after a fight. You know what I mean? Getting on the courts and things like that.
They were even beyond sports. They were just like icons. Yeah. Both of them, just absolute global icons.
Yep. And then I think the separations right here, you do a pre-fight interview with Mike and you say, "Hey, Mike," and post-fight, remember, but he said, "Hey, Mike, listen, what do you got to prove? What are you doing this for?" As Jim Gray's asking him, he says, "Man, listen, I'm a humanitarian. I just want to help people. I just want to give back." And that's where the separation was right there in the preparation. You have a guy who has a drive and a will that goes beyond 8 rounds, goes beyond 2-minute rounds. It goes further into how can I help people and how can I be a service to other people through doing what I do. And I think at the end of the day, that's what made me fast forward to the post-fight. Mike says
Tyson won.
Mike said no, both hands were raised.
Tyson won though. Anyone who watched that, Vinny Paz they were showing Vinny Paz's score and he had like 5-10 rounds. I was like, come on, man.
Hey, the sports book said it was a draw.
I'm so mad at Vinny. But
yeah, I was like, come on, man. But Tyson won for sure.
Yeah, I'll go back to my point a little bit later, but I thought that Roy won. I got a scorecard right here. I got a scorecard right here. I do.
What is he?
I do.
Carson.
My scorecard.
Carson, we got to go solo.
Listen.
What is he talking about right now?
Listen, make sure y'all subscribe to the channels, the Porterweight Podcast and the Porterweight Podcast.
You can unsubscribe for that bullshit. I'm okay with you unsubscribing.
And also, leave a comment. I have my scorecard right here. Let me get a reflection.
We can't see it. We can't see it.
We can see it.
Go closer.
It said Tyson won every round.
Oh, he got 9-10, 10-9.
There's no way you thought Roy won that.
I'm done with that card. You can actually see it, though. You can actually see it.
There's no way you thought Roy won that.
What you doing, bro?
I had Roy Jones winning the fight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds to 3.
Unbelievable.
Carson.
Unbelievable.
Who is this guy?
I gave Roy maybe 1 round, and that was being generous.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
He was. Did Roy throw anything other than a jab for the most part?
Maybe I think my mind was like, if he survives this round, I'm giving it to him.
He survived.
I was like, he survived 10-9.
Hey, those body shots, I assure you, Roy is waking up today feeling a lot worse than Mike is.
Yeah.
Hey, it was like you got kids, Sean. It'd be like your kids older, like in the little ones, and you letting the big one beat him down, but you're like, hey, don't hurt him.
The crazy thing about Roy is, God bless him, he really feels that he can do everything that he did in the 80s and the 90s.
That was killing me. He looking out to the side. I'm like, what are you doing? You ain't got that no more.
It worked when you could do it. You just can't do it anymore.
He looked like when you get the old guy on the basketball court.
And to his defense, he landed some really good jabs on Mike. He did land some good jabs on Mike, and a couple no looks on Mike, which is why I gave him the rounds that I gave him.
when you play ball and you get the old guy out on the court that probably used to be like a stone cold baller
and just come down like gunning it all the time. You hold on,
gunning it, trying to do like behind the back passes. Like, it's like, my man, this was probably great in the 90s, but that's what Roy looked like to me. Like, he looked like, oh, let me show you out the razzle dazzle that I used to do back in my day, and it looked like an old guy. But Tyson, I was thoroughly impressed by Mike.
So would you pay for it again?
Yes.
Absolutely. They got my money based on the event, because they didn't spare an expense yesterday. The whole commentary group was great. Snoop, Mauro Ranallo, Sugar Ray, Mario Lopez.
What?
I'm gonna tell y'all who didn't get paid yesterday. I'm sure y'all know.
What?
Me, you, Ant.
We definitely didn't get paid, but Nate Robinson didn't get nothing.
Why?
They just put out whatever. I don't know. I didn't read the whole thing, but I don't know who put it out. But basically, he made about $600 yesterday.
I read that he was supposed to get paid $500,000.
And I'm like, maybe they're gonna give him a piece of the pay-per-view. But the first report is that he got $600 last night.
Get you a PS5.
Because something happened after the fight. What was he on PEDs? What's going on?
I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to pull it up.
I think the only drug in his system might have been Ambien.
What'd you say, Carson?
I said I think the only drug in his system might have been Ambien, if that's the sleeping one.
Yeah, if he took some PEDs, then he got beat like that.
That
was the purse.
Yeah, his purse was $600.
Yeah, Mike said he was high.
Not no goddamn $600.
That's what I said. That's what
the word on the street is. Yeah, I saw the same thing.
You crazy, bro? You went up there and got Sleepy Deepy for $600? I only gave $600. I got $600 to get somebody. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah,
man, I don't even believe in that. Come on, man.
CBS Sports, and the headline is Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. fight purses. Legends make over $1 million. Jake Paul and Nate Robinson just $600.
Yeah, man.
600,000.
Nope, 600 bones. A PS5.
So that's what went down.
Hey, no, it was a split.
Yeah, they split 1,200.
Split.
They each got 600.
No, split 600,000.
No, I don't think so.
Hey man, look. Hey.
Our
look.
producer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Our producer
is saying.
Jake Paul and Nate Robinson will also earn an equal share, with each picking up 600,000 each.
There's no way they did that for $600.
I saw $600. That was what I saw personally.
Bro, I don't make $500,000, and this stuff I won't do for $1,000. Okay.
So
Yeah, that was bad.
So then moving forward, we have a real fight.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, here we go.
But I'm not even gonna just say that. We have a real fight next week. I'm gonna leave it at that. I gotta double check the numbers for Fox. I need my producers to confirm the Fox
Come on. They confirmed the $600 now. They did not make sense.
Hey, listen. Hey, let me. All right.
Man went to sleep for $600.
Yeah.
Funky. What's his name? Debo went to sleep for $200. $600.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
$600.
So Jake Paul is the YouTube sensation and all that. So he's picking up endorsements and sponsorships and things like that. So he's getting paid. I don't care about your pockets. However, what you went through for just $600 doesn't.
$600?
Yeah, man. Your brother got more money than him.
Hey man,
you know
my brother told me to tell you got a cell phone. That's what my brother told me to tell you. He told me to tell you you got a cell phone.
Hey, Jake Paul was picking up sponsorships and Nate Robinson was picking himself off the canvas. That was about it.
Gosh, it's $600.
I know, man.
Yeah.
This is blowing me. This probably tops 2020 for me. $600.
That's what happens in 2020.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
So let's get into the fight for the WBC IBF, aka the winner gets Shawn Porter fight.
There you go.
Yeah, I got you, baby.
It's going down next week, y'all.
Yeah, man. I'm excited for this.
So what I guess right now we would have to give our final thoughts because this won't be out until next week. But let's start with you, Carson. Like, final thoughts. Like, how are you feeling going into next week?
Everything that I thought before and everything I've seen since indicates Errol will win a lopsided decision. I don't think he stops Danny, but I think Errol, I don't have much question about his ability going into this as far as coming off the accident. I think he, by all accounts, looks good. You'll still see when you get in the ring, you know, how you react to big punches. But I think in normal circumstances, I think Errol would win comfortably, and I think Errol still wins comfortably coming off that. But I'm excited. I love Errol Spence. I like to see Errol Spence, you know, get in there and do his thing. So I'm happy about that.
Don't love Errol Spence.
Yeah,
not a real fan of Danny. But yeah, I'm not gonna say the car accident. I'm not even going to involve that. I'm gonna say Errol is gonna Garcia him like he did the other Garcia. I say he's on the jab all night. I don't just Danny got the footwork to get inside. Like he says, I see holes in the Porter Spence fight. You ain't Porter. No. You got the feet of Porter. You got great head. He got great counters and stuff like that. But my thing is the difference with that fight with just the foot movement. I just don't know if he can get inside like that, man. But yeah, I definitely got Errol probably win this comfortably. If he get inside, maybe Danny try to land something big. I'm thinking that's his only shot. But
so you're
can
switching
he get inside?
Because you had Danny winning by knockout.
Yep. I have to be realistic.
Fair. I respect that.
I had to take the car accident out of it.
He said,
because, originally you have to be real. Take the car accident out of it. With the car accident, Danny knockout. But let's be realistic. Hopefully, you guys back. Don't want to wish bad on the dude. Man,
no, 100%. But I mean, we can't take it out because it happened. It'd be different if it didn't happen.
The problem is I haven't seen him since I haven't seen him in the ring or anything since the car accident, I'm gonna take the Errol I seen versus you. I'm gonna say that Errol just washes. He don't wash him, but he beats Dan.
That's fair. That's fair to say. Let me ask you this then, and if Errol ends up being on the outside for the most part, beating Danny with a jab and beating him with his footwork, I mean, sometimes fights can be that simple, and if Danny can't get close and is really more of a counterpuncher than he is, first offensively and even first and third offensively, if Errol is to win the fight just based on a jab and foot movement, would you say that he fought safe? Or would you say that he?
I would say he did what he had to do to get the win.
Yeah.
He fought. In your case, he keeps saying, "I went up and then I fought his fight and I got in a dog fight with him and I won." You forced him to fight that fight. Mikey couldn't force him into a dog fight.
Right.
He did. He from all his fights on, he usually controls the fight. The Kell Brook fight, he wasn't in control. Your fight, he wasn't in control. He still did what he had to do to beat you. He ain't beat your ass, but he did what he had to do to beat you. But I think Errol, whatever it takes, man, get it done. I think if he wins on with jabbing him, he got the W. That's all that matters at the end of the night. Don't matter what I say, what you say, anybody say. At the end of the day, I'm walking away with the W. Bring on Porter.
And that's my whole thing with being a analyst on this fight is I'd rather talk about what happens after the fight, because prior to the fight, it's all speculation and it's all what we expect and what we want. And I'm expecting Errol Spence to control the ring. I'm expecting Errol Spence to start the fight with his jab more than step into Danny Garcia with, double jabs and straight lefts like he does, double jabs and straight lefts to the body and the right hooks to the body like he does. I'm expecting him to be a little safer and a little bit more conservative to start the fight with just a jab. On the other hand, I know what I want Danny to do, but I know what Danny does. I want Danny to be aggressive coming out of the blocks. And I don't mean on him like I'm on a lot of guys. I just mean aggressive with your head movement, aggressive with feints, and aggressive with your jab. Like use the jab to set up some things. Use the jab to set up your counters. And I don't think that that's something that he does. What I expect him to do is come in the ring and look at Errol Spence Jr. and try to figure out where my timing is and how can I land the big hook or the big counter right hand. I think he's got power. I don't remember feeling his power the way we've seen in the past him really clock some guys, but I do think that he has power. And I do think that if he can touch Errol clean, that he may affect Errol. But saying all that, I don't think Danny's going to start fast. I think that's going to be a detriment to the fight for him. I do think the fight's going to be exciting because I think that Errol's going to get comfortable. And once he gets comfortable, he's going to start to behave more like he usually does in terms of being more aggressive with the combinations, both to the head and the body. Then I think we got a good fight. So I think it's going to be a great fight. I think that it's going to be a fight that Errol Spence is going to win. I think it's going to be a decision. I don't think it's going to be a close decision. I think that I just don't think that the things that I want out of Danny to make it a great fight and to make it a close fight, I don't think we're going to get that. I think
and you mentioned that you don't think we're going to get that or that he won't do that. I would counter and say I don't think he can do that. I think he can change a little bit. I think he could try to dictate the pace a little more. Like you said, throw some feints in there, mix it up a little bit, but kind of going back to what Ant said, Danny Garcia isn't Shawn Porter.
Yeah.
He's not Kell Brook. He's not Keith Thurman. He's a great fighter. And I think people try to discredit Danny, and I'll admit, not a huge Danny Garcia fan, but I respect his ability and what he does and his resume.
Right.
But I just don't think it's something where we're going to be like, oh, Danny goes in there and has crazy footwork and he's cutting angles down. And it's not possible, in my opinion, for Danny to do that. So I think his chance is to land a huge shot, but I just don't see how he can. I think the talent gap between them and the versatility between them, I think that gap is wide.
I don't think the talent is wide. I think the versatility is wide. I think that
good.
I think
good
that
way.
Danny's talented. Danny's got the tools. I just think that Danny, he doesn't use the tools to the best of his ability, so to speak. So like basically he's faster than I think a lot of people think that he is, but he doesn't throw combinations for even his opponent to worry about. I think he's quicker and more powerful than a lot of people think that he is, but he doesn't use his quickness or his power the way that he could. I think he relies on 2 punches.
Let me cut you off then and ask you why not use that then? I guess I'm confused. If he has the ability, why are you not doing that?
So when I'm saying what I want him to do, I know that he can do that. I know that he can step to Errol Spence Jr. just like this. If you stalk your guy, and get your guy on his heels and backing up, that alone changes the dynamic of the fight. That changes the whole complexion of what's gonna happen. But as long as he stays back and boxes like this and moves and turns whenever Errol turns, Errol's going to control the ring and control the fight. So what I want Danny to do is just step forward behind your jab. Set up Errol Spence Jr. Even if you're just pawing with the jab and moving Errol like this with your jab hand, that's more aggressive than sitting back and allowing Errol to control everything. So I think he's got the speed to throw a good jab, a good strong jab, and control Errol. And I also think that he can move his feet and do that. But the thing that we have not seen him do are those 2 things. We don't see him stepping forward against guys with his feet and his hands and throwing them. And we don't see him taking the fight to guys and controlling the ring. The fight that sticks out in my mind is the fight with Adrian Granados. Now, granted, he hit Adrian and hurt Adrian. That's what got him moving forward and doing what he needed to do to eventually stop Adrian. What I'm saying is, bump having to touch somebody and hurt them in order for you to get in your mindset to be aggressive. Just come out of the blocks like that with that mindset, and I think you'll be successful.
Yeah, I guess my thing is, I think the footwork might be the biggest disparity in this fight. I think Errol's footwork is elite, and I think Danny's is subpar or below average, I'll say, for that elite level. I think for what you're saying, though, for me personally, I'm a guy that if you haven't shown me something, I'm not just assuming you can do it.
Yeah.
So like you said, he can do that. We've never seen him do it, but he can do that. We've never seen him do it until you actually show me. Yes, I can step forward and I can dictate the pace. Can he probably do that? Maybe, but I can't assume. What they say about assuming.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, he better do this, or his career, he's going to have to start over, man. Yeah. Like, he better do everything. He better either have a great showing or win this fight. He cannot get blown out. You cannot get blown out, Danny. Yeah. Like, and you can't get inside, you better cut off the ring. Yeah. You better hit that man with something big early and gain that respect. If you literally let him start controlling the fight first couple rounds, it could be a wash.
The biggest thing for Danny is you cannot have a fight where you end valiantly, but you fight in spurts throughout the fight, and you're behind Errol Spence on every exchange, and you're behind Errol Spence every time he's in and out. If you're behind Errol Spence the whole fight, you're going to lose the fight. And then if you end the fight valiantly, trying to be aggressive and go for it all in the last round,
Come on,
credit for that, but I don't dig that. What I dig is somebody coming in there trying to win and doing what it takes to win a fight. So if he does that, I agree with you. And for him, it's really not about starting over. It's just about where do I go from here and how do I continue a career and get back to contending for a championship. He's not the type of fighter that's gonna start over. I could see him beating Ugas. I could see him beating a lot of those. I could see him beating a lot of those guys who are right on the verge of contending for championships. But you know, I think this is the fight right here that tells us whether or not Danny Garcia really can fight with the big names in the welterweight division.
And like we said before, it's a round robin right now. What we say?
Hey, listen.
name?
Let me say this: at the gym, if it was 4 or 5 of us, if you couldn't hang with us, you was getting 1 round or 2 rounds, and the rest of us is doing a round robin. So that's what happens in the gym.
That's what he's in right now.
And that's what you in right now. If you don't win this fight, you
don't go down 0-3.
Yeah, you can't go down 0-3 because nobody's gonna let you get back in the ring. Yeah. You know, and that's exactly what happened in the gym.
And we mentioned before Danny is, I can't think of a top 5, probably top 7 welterweight at worst right now.
He's top 5.
I was about to say all time.
No.
Hell no.
But like right now, so I think we've mentioned before, he's still elite. Like he's still an elite fighter. But like you said, if you're in all 3 elite fights that you've had, if you've come up short as a welterweight, it's tough. It's tough at that point to be like, yeah, you know, he can, you know, get a chance there. But yeah, I still would think Danny gives a lot of those guys a tough showing. I like what Shawn said about when he comes to the end and that's when he puts his foot on the gas. Let me see that early, because then maybe we know you could do that. Mm-hmm. You're desperate at the end, and you show that you can move your feet and you can throw combinations and you can dictate it. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is the 10th. Where was that 1 through 9?
Anybody?
Yeah, like the last 10 seconds of your fight, Shawn, he's putting it on you. He's putting it on you.
I guess I got to go back and watch the last 10 seconds of the fight.
Yeah, and you were just like, all right, you didn't do that all fight. It literally was just
one of the greatest moments of my life, man. Yeah, go ahead.
Winning that fight?
Yeah, one of the greatest moments of my life. Yep.
So we've seen him actually look good in a fight with you, a fight with Keith. He has it in there, man. He just has to be consistent. It's like he fights it. He's not to the point of Adrian Broner fighting in spurts, but he still fights in spurts.
Yeah.
You got to be more, especially with Earl, man. This guy's good.
Let me say this. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, go ahead. Do your thing.
Yeah, let me say this. I think we'll wrap up after this, but the one thing that I've heard coming out of the camp, which I love that I'm hearing, and I think that it will make a difference in the fight, is that his relationship with his dad is in a lot of ways repaired. Things have been great, and in their relationship, both in and out of the gym, has been on a level that it hasn't been basically his entire life. And this is what I know about that. And I can speak on it because I have a father, and we've gone through a lot in the sport, a lot of things you guys know even. But one thing that people don't know, and here's how I make the correlation with Nate Robinson last night, a guy who can get in the ring, and did he even make it out of the first round?
Yeah.
Okay, so it went 2 rounds. It went 2 rounds. But you don't come to the ring mentally ready to do what needs to be done. Not only mentally, but also emotionally not ready to handle everything that comes at you. And let me be clear. It wasn't what Jake was throwing at him that had him so high up and so anxious. It was the moment. It was the lights. It was that point in time that he could not hone in on everything that was about to come at him.
It's kind of like when Floyd used to tell his opponents all the time, it's different. This is different. This is different level.
Yeah. And a lot of times, if you're not ready for it and you're listening to somebody tell you that, when things start to not click the way you want them to, the only thing ringing in your mind is, he told me this was going to happen. So most times Floyd beat guys before they even got in the ring. Yeah. But just using that to speak on Danny Garcia, you got a guy who in a lot of ways was held back from being his greatest because of the guy next to him that he trusted and confided in the most. it was almost like he couldn't get the things out of him that he wanted. He was getting the things that he needed, and he was receiving them the best way that he could in order for him to perform. But there was a lot that he was missing. And now it sounds like he's getting everything from his father the way that he's always wanted it to come at him. And it's like now they're moving and training and acting as one. And that's exactly where he needs to be, getting into the ring. Like we just said, on his last attempt, because this is the third attempt. Third time's the charm. And when you're connected mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, for some of us, that's different. Psychologically, it takes you to that level that you need to be at to perform at moments and against guys like this. So I think that is, for me, that is the silver lining in the storyline for Danny Garcia is, to me, you're now at the point where you need everything to click the way it needs to click, and now all you got to do is go in there and put it down.
Let me counter you just with one thing on that. You mentioned that you and on a personal level, I love that they're where they need to be as father and son, as coach and fighter. One thing that I didn't like that's come out in this camp and in press conferences and stuff like that is Angel Garcia continually saying the reason we lost to Shawn Porter and the reason we lost to Keith Thurman was politics. Because what that does is it shows, he should have won those fights. We talked about it before. If you don't think I lost because I did something wrong, you're not going to improve that. Right. So for me, if he had been like, we came up short in those fights with Shawn Porter and Keith Thurman because we didn't dictate the pace or we didn't do this, we need to improve on that. But instead, if you're like, it was politics, that's the only reason we lost, we fought great, we beat both those guys, that doesn't indicate to me that you realize you lost those because of a shortcoming in the ring. That's my only issue, is that it doesn't seem like, I'm motivated because I lost those, I came up short, I need to change my game a little bit. It just seems like, the only reason I lost was because they didn't want me to win, but I'm good where I'm at. If that makes sense. And
at the end, absolutely, it makes sense. I mean, it's you don't improve if you accept what's going on and you make an excuse and a reason why it happened. And obviously, I think that, I don't know what his record is, but to this point in his career, he's never fought any other type of style, any other type of way other than what we've seen. We've seen him be powerful against guys who couldn't stand up to his power, and we've seen him get outboxed by guys who can box better than he can box. And so they're saying, hey man, we've been on this level for a long time. We ain't no one trick ponies. We're about to show you. And the only thing I can say to that is I'm keeping both fingers crossed that y'all come into this ring different, the same way I'm convinced that y'all gonna be different. I think a big part of me wants them to be different, not only so we can get a good fight, but also so that, Danny can basically cement who he is as a fighter. And I think that a lot of who he is as a fighter relies on him and his performance in this fight. We want him to come out on top in order for him to continue. But even beyond that, the only way you can cement who you are as a fighter is by your performance against Errol Spence Jr.
I don't want him to come out on top. I'm rooting for Errol. But
honestly, with me, I'm crazy. I want him to knock Earl out. I want this thing to be effed up.
He wanted to shake up.
Who's the man? I want this thing to be effed up.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, we're going to recap and talk about it all next weekend.
No doubt.
Because I think we're going to have a great fight on our hands this coming Saturday night. Fox pay-per-view. Don't miss it.
Betting wise. Take Danny plus 350. $100 when you 450.
Apparently, some of us, a part of the Porterweight podcast, likes to bet.
I ain't got a problem though.
Twitter and Instagram, Anthony Bernard. If y'all want some tips on getting your bet on, but don't miss the fight. Fox pay-per-view Saturday night. This is the Porterweight podcast. And Carson S.P. God bless y'all. We'll see you soon. Don't tell me you didn't enjoy what you saw, because I know you did. What you need to do now, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, hit that notification button. Check us out every week, every Tuesday, something new for you right here on the Porterweight Podcast.